Professor Barrett.
Hey, Nicole.
So I can't believe it's been 2.5 years since we first met in my 1L year, back in legal writing when I knew absolutely nothing. So I guess I was just wanted to talk to you about the different types of mentorship that we have here at Penn Law. And I guess the first question I'll ask you is, what does mentorship, as someone who gets to teach one of the smaller classes for first year students, what does that kind of mean for you and how you think about your role as a professor here?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that drew me to this job is the ability to work with students. I love my class because I see so much improvement over the course of the year, and I get to monitor individual progress of the students as they come in from a huge range of backgrounds, and they all learn all the types of things that we're trying to teach them and begin the process of becoming lawyers. And so for me, what mentorship means is tracking each student's individual progress, but also along the way developing relationships with each individual student and trying to keep track of them when they leave the classroom. As you said, I can't believe it's been 2.5 years since you were in my class, but I'm so thrilled that we've been able to keep in touch over the last few years. And I've loved watching you grow and turn into the great lawyer that you're going to be very soon.
Well, thank you. So I guess for a lot of people, law school is a very different process to the types of school that they're accustomed to. So can you tell me anything specifically about the legal practice skills course that we have here and what makes this a unique part of the law school experience?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, part of what our class does is introduce the skills that you're going to use as a lawyer when you graduate, but it's also set up in a much smaller format. So instead of a large section of 80 students, I teach a smaller section of about 40 students, which then breaks down into smaller cohorts of between 12 and 15 students who are led by a third-year Littleton Fellow. And so that structure allows for a lot of opportunities for mentorship, both from the Littleton Fellows to the students, for me to the 1Ls, but also between me and my Littleton Fellows. And that's a really important piece, I guess, that I omitted from the first part of the mentorship role that I play here, is really watching closely as these sort of more developed lawyers grow into their role as middle managers, working with 1L students and with me to get a lot of work done over the course of the year.
Yeah, I have distinct memories of building relationships with the other classmates of mine in my cohort, specifically because when we're not meeting in a formal classroom setting and we're meeting with our Littleton Fellows, it was easier to kind of start to develop a relationship with my peers at such an early stage. And specifically, I remember with you, kind of one of the first conversations we got to have outside of the classroom was in your office in conferences. And you really encouraged everybody to meet you in your office and continue to have conversations with you. And so do you have any funny stories or funny conferences that you can remember from, not necessarily involving me, but involving any students of the past, or have you really seen a student kind of shift or something click in a conference?
All the time. I mean, I see light bulbs go off all the time in conferences, and that's one of the reasons that we have them. It's really important to offer students that one-on-one feedback opportunity, particularly when you're dealing with something as personal as somebody's analysis and writing. And so the in-person discussion is really important for me. That's also why we do these other exercises in legal practice skills that aren't just one-on-one interviews or one-on-one conferences, but also small group conversations where you come in with a couple of your students and we all talk about the problem that you're working on. That not only gives you a preview of what your work is going to be like out in the world, but it also helps me get to know each student's personality, and it's amazing how much of your personality does come through in those small group sessions.
I guess, and then kind of branching out outside of, the first semester when you're learning this new skill, this new language, legalese.
No, we don't use legalese.
Okay, sorry. We're learning how to analyze like a lawyer.
Okay, much better. A new structure, but not new language. We use the same plain English words, right?
Yes, that's true. So after that, how would you say that the conversations that you've had in the classroom for students help them move forward into their second semester and then again into their 2L and 3L years?
That's a great question for you, actually. I'd love to hear your experience on that, but I do try very actively, and my colleagues do the same, to really be intentional about sort of the way that we build skills in the class, and really with the goal of launching students into their first year summers, as well as giving them good foundations to continue to build skills over the course of their year. And I think, over the course of their time here. And one of the things that's been most fun for me in the last couple of years is that I've started to teach an upper level class too. And it's really fun to see. I know, I can't wait. It's really been great to see the students, particularly the ones that I had as 1Ls, grown up as 3Ls. That sounds like a funny way to put it. But they really have learned a lot in those 3 years. And it's really, sometimes you can get down about law school, and particularly the students are like, ugh, it's a long slog, but it's really reinforced my faith in the process. Here in Philadelphia, we often say trust the process, and that having that third year classes or upper level student classes really reinforced my faith that students get it. And the act of being here in this community and going through all the things that we make them go through, which sometimes they resist, really has a huge, profound impact, not only in their ability to think clearly, but in their ability to communicate clearly and to grow up as professionals and to become professional, outstanding lawyers. But let's turn it around. Let me hear about what you think.
Sure, yeah. So this is interesting because my personal experience and what a lot of my peers have told me is that you really are in the weeds your first year and you don't recognize your own growth. And so it wasn't until my first summer job where, someone was like, research this problem for me and just write up a little memo. And I was terrified. But I took a couple deep breaths and I just started going through cases just like we did in exercises in class. And then I think in that moment it was really awesome to feel like, oh, okay, these are the skills I've learned. I can put them into practice and I can get better. And I think, it kind of expands past, the law school doors. I go out into the world and I'm seeing different problems come up in whether it's my regular life or friends' problems. And I find that I'm just able to utilize the skills that I've learned in my first year and improved upon in my second and third years. And that's why I'm excited to take the upper level course with you next semester, because I feel like that'll be a great encapsulation of kind of like the start and end points to my legal practice skill journey.
Thanks. Well, I can't wait to have you. It's going to be so much fun.